The fall season is always an extremely busy couple months for new game releases, as developers and publishers rush to get their new products out in time for the upcoming holiday shoppers. But I'm not sure I can ever remember a busier release schedule than what we've gotten here in 2025. There have genuinely been 2 to 3 different games releasing every single week that I want to play. And as silly as it may sound, I'm feeling quite overwhelmed by it. There's simply not enough hours in a day to play everything, causing games that could have been easy day one purchases for me to get skipped over entirely. As my personal backlog continues to pile higher and higher, I've been reflecting on this industry and its future, and I have come to the conclusion that there are just way too many video games. If you watch a lot of gaming video essays, you've no doubt seen titles like "Why Gaming Sucks Now" or "Gaming Isn't the Same" hitting your recommended feed. And whenever I see one of these videos with the same 5 overused talking points, I can't help but wonder what reality these people are living in. Are there things about modern gaming that suck? Of course there are. But there is also such an unbelievable swath of incredible games to play coming monthly, weekly, or hell even daily. When I hear someone say there's nothing to play or games are boring now, I can only assume your Steam library looks like this and you just don't like video games anymore. To be clear, there's nothing wrong with that. If you don't enjoy games like you used to, or feel like you've outgrown them, that's totally fair. I mean, hey, you'll be a much more productive member of society than I ever will be, but your own personal disinterest in the medium is not a reflection of its current status. There are more great games being released right now than there have ever been before. A couple of you will tell me I'm wrong and use some live service slop as your evidence, but in the time it took you to write that comment, another 10 out of 10 indie game from some developer you've never heard of just got released. Criticisms of the industry are valid. I've done plenty of that myself on this channel. But what you'll never hear me say is that there's nothing good to play. If anything, my complaint is that there is too much good stuff to play. I could dedicate every waking moment to this. Stop working, stop eating, stop sleeping, and I would still never be able to experience every game I want to. In some ways, that's an awesome thing, right? It's great to have an industry so alive and vibrant that I can't even keep up with the amount of worthwhile content we're getting. But at the same time, it's pretty unsustainable when you really start to think about it. I believe the number of games being released right now is one of the biggest problems the gaming world is facing. And I think a lot of the negative trends we've seen over the last several years can all be tied back to this core issue. The gaming industry has grown exponentially over the last 40 years. What was once seen as nothing more than a toy for kids has now become a prominent fixture in our everyday entertainment world. With that comes extreme growth and expansion. More studios and publishers being formed, more young developers hoping to find their place, and more games being released than ever. But unfortunately, life doesn't scale with the industry. There are still only 24 hours in a given day. The same 24 hours Nintendo 64 players had for their 388 released games are the same 24 hours PlayStation 4 players got for their 11,000 released games. Obviously, not all of those games are worth playing, but you see my point. There was a time when it was realistically possible to keep up with every major release. However, those days are long gone, and I think that's something pretty unique to the gaming space when compared to other forms of media, simply because of the time investment necessary. For example, the most recent game I've completed was Ghost of Yotei, which took me around 50 hours. Compare that to other media. I could have watched like 20 different movies in that amount of time, or I could have gotten through multiple full TV series. But with video games, those 50 hours only got me through one single experience. This isn't meant as a complaint against game length, it's just a representation of why I find it so difficult to keep up. And I do think this is more than just a personal problem. It's something that anyone making a video game right now needs to be thinking about. A recent report from Circana showed that 60% of US gamers buy just 2 new games or fewer per year. Meanwhile, only 4% of those surveyed said they buy more than 1 game per month. If this stat sounds unbelievable to you, it's probably because you're watching a video like this right now. The simple fact that you watch YouTube videos centered around the gaming industry means you are significantly more engaged than the average consumer. So for someone like you, and for someone like me, only buying 1 or 2 games a year sounds insane, but for the general population, it's actually pretty common. A similar report from Circana showed that 70% of gamers on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series consoles played at least one of the top 10 live service games in January 2025. These 10 games included the usual suspects like Fortnite, Roblox, Call of Duty, and Minecraft. Initially, this stat may sound like nothing. Yeah, a lot of people played the most popular games in the world. What's the big deal? Well, as the report continues, we see that over 40% of all total playtime on these consoles went to just these 10 games. And this is not how things used to be. Gamers would play whatever the new cool game was and then eventually move on. But nowadays, most of the top games are inviting you to stick around for years and doing everything in their power to make sure you never need to play anything else. So to recap, there are thousands of video games being released every single year, whilst 60% of US gamers don't buy more than even 2 of them in that same time period. Meanwhile, players are likely spending a large percentage of their limited gaming hours with the same 10 games as they were 5 years ago, instead of moving on to any of these new ones. It doesn't exactly take an expert of the industry to know these numbers are not adding up. So what exactly is the point I'm making here? What I'm trying to demonstrate is that the way the industry is moving is unhealthy. The increase in games being released is coinciding with an era where people are buying less than they were before. It might be easy to say, who cares? I'm not the one running these companies, that's their problem. But if you're thinking that, you would be wrong. Nearly every negative aspect of the industry we have right now all come back to this issue. Why do you think video game prices have risen from $60 to $70 to $80? Could it be because these companies need to get more money from their dedicated spenders now that less total people are interested? Why do you think every multiplayer game you play is trying to farm your wallet for microtransactions the second you reach the main menu? Could it be because the publisher knows this might be their one chance to get you spending for the rest of the year? It's easy to just blame it all on greed, but it's actually so much more complicated than that. What you're seeing are companies scrambling to figure out how to capitalize on this era. How do you sell a full-priced game to a group of people who have grown up on Fortnite and Roblox? How do you encourage people to try out your game when the games they are currently playing have been designed from the ground up to keep them there forever? And how do you make your game stand out as the one worth playing or buying amongst the thousands of others? The reality in most cases is you don't. The gaming industry is rapidly growing, but only a select few are actually reaping the true benefits. Video game spending is breaking records, but it's not being spread amongst the field. It's all getting funneled into the top percentile. It's not sustainable, and it's only a matter of time before it reaches a point we can't go back from. Maybe that's being a bit dramatic. I'm not trying to act as if there will come a time where we aren't getting any new big games or anything like that. But I don't think it's unreasonable to say we may see less great games getting greenlit as a result of these trends. I don't think it's unreasonable to say upcoming young talent will be turned away from the industry as a result of these trends. And I don't think it's unreasonable to say we could end up with even worse gaming business practices as a result of these trends either. This is the point in the video where I should probably start offering up some solutions, but honestly, I'm not sure I have any. I don't know if this is a problem that can actually be solved, especially since for most gamers, this isn't even a problem in the first place. They are happy with their live service games alongside the couple of new titles they might purchase each year. They aren't worried about trying to keep up and play everything because they don't even want to. It's a mindset that I take absolutely no issue with. But it's also one that is very different from my own. I guess part of what's getting in my head is I feel like the way I want to play games is becoming more and more uncommon, and in some ways is no longer even possible. It's been kind of a weird thing having to accept that there are countless great games I will just never be able to play. And what I've tried to express throughout this video is that as more and more people come to the same realization as me, the games will start to suffer. There may be no realistic way to stop this trend, but I think the one thing we can do is support the games we enjoy and want to see more of. I've tried to do some of this myself, buying games that I may not be able to play right away, but still want to support. Just the other day I did this with Dispatch, which I don't have time for at the moment, but rather than wait for a sale, I chose to buy the game now because I'm happy to see such a high quality new Telltale style game back on the market. I'm of course very lucky to be in a financial position where I can do something like that, and I wouldn't expect everyone to do the same. But right now, it's been my small way of trying to practice what I preach. Before I get back to clearing out my never-ending list of games to play, I'll try to wrap this video up on a more positive note, because at the end of the day, this is a pretty terrific problem to have. Feeling like there are too many great games on the market to keep up with is definitely better than any alternative scenario. I will certainly continue to worry about the future sustainability of this avalanche of content, and I'll always long for the games I'm forced to skip, but I would still much rather that than sit around bored with nothing good to play. This barrage of releases has led to me having what is possibly the most fulfilling year of gaming in my entire life, and that is something I'm very thankful for, regardless of what it might mean for the future. I'd be curious to hear in the comments if any of you are feeling similarly to me. I would also love to know what new games have been taking up your playtime recently. And as always, thanks for watching.